first thing we want to do is take a look back at Green Bay and Detroit. Now, both games, the Niners easily could have lost, and some might even say they deserved to lose, just specifically based on the effort. I mean, you look at, there's been several interviews with John Lynch, Steve Wilkes, Kyle Shanahan on one common denominator, and that's effort. For whatever reason, this year's 49ers defense seems to lack that. Maybe it's a change of defensive coordinator with Steve Wilkes in there. We know he's not the rah-rah guy that both Robert Saleh and D'Amico Ryans were. They were very much in your face. We're swarming. Every play we're swarming. That's what we're doing. Steve Wilkes is more of a reserved kind of guy. That doesn't mean he's not intelligent. He's very smart. You see what he's done with our defensive backs. They've really taken their game to that next level. You look at Charvarius Ward, made his very first Pro Bowl, and what he's kind of done there. And so Steve Wilkes is a different type of leader, a great one for our secondary, but for whatever reason, there is a lack of effort. And here's a few sound bites from this week specifically on that.
It starts with effort, and that being a non-negotiable. So those things have been addressed. You got one game. I really would be shocked if we saw that again. And sometimes that comes. I mean, there's excuses for it. But they're just that. They're excuses, and that has to be non-negotiable. Play your heart out, and then we've got a lot of good players, a lot of good depth, and you can get. So those aren't plays that we're proud of. Those players are proud of. It's been addressed, and I'd be real surprised if I saw it.
No, not at all. I mean, that's kind of what I was referring to on, I think, our conference call on Monday. But it's, and I know it looked bad on the clip that you guys have and stuff, but it's, it's not our culture. We don't want to have one play like that. I think we had about 2 to 3 in that game, which is too much for us. We don't want to ever have one, but it wasn't just the D-line. There was a few backside people who weren't going, and they're expecting someone else to make the tackle. And whenever you're expecting someone else to make the tackle, bad things happen.
Collectively, as a team, I can tell you, as a defense, it's unacceptable. All right, and we talked about that. I wish I could tell these guys on play 4, on play 27, this is what's going to happen. You don't know. So we got to make sure that we play every down as if it's going to be the difference in the ball game. And you can see on those 2 particular plays, it wasn't to our standard. And those guys understand and know that. And quite honestly, it was embarrassing.
Now, as you see that breakdown, Steve Wilkes says it is unacceptable, not to our standard, and he point blank says it is embarrassing. You look at John Lynch. He talked about his time with the Bucs and how there was something about effort, as an effort is a non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. It mentioned that it's been addressed, which if you look at me, you might be asking, okay, what are the plays that they're talking about? Well, one key play is the Jahmyr Gibbs toss to the outside that scored a touchdown. You see multiple defensive linemen just jogging, assuming that somebody else is going to make that tackle. In fact, you have Chase Young just jogging to the end zone, and what ends up happening is Gibbs cuts right in front of him, and if Chase Young was hustling, that would have been a tackle to stop that touchdown from happening. In fact, when you look at Shanahan's quote, this is what he says: when you expect someone else to make that tackle, bad things happen. And so, for whatever reason, hopefully they get their butts in gear, and they took care of that, hopefully, in Santa Clara during that practice week. And because this is the game, you cannot afford to take plays off. In fact, you might even say that they deserve to lose last game because of the lack of effort. And so, luckily, they are in this position to where they can sort of right that wrong. And hopefully that they've got that out of their system and they are ready to show up. Hopefully they are, even though they're in Vegas, that they are focused, that they are dialed in and ready to go.